Hey guys, this is Aryan and welcome back to One Stop Aviation. Today we are going to talk about CP and PNR. Before we start off, we are going to talk about a few basic things that we need to understand. First difference that we need to understand is between ground speed and true airspeed. Ground speed is the speed at which your airplane is flying if tracked over ground. True airspeed is the speed at which the airplane is flying with respect to the relative air around it. True airspeed and ground speed are never going to be the same unless you're flying through calm winds, which is never really going to be the case in reality as well as in your sums. True airspeed is measured on board with the help of something known as a pitot tube, but a whole different video on that later. Stay tuned. What we need to understand is that in case of a headwind, our ground speed is going to be lesser than our true airspeed, and in case of a tailwind, we're going to get a slight push from the back. So our ground speed is going to be more than our true airspeed. I'll show you how. As you can see, this airplane trying to fly in this direction, and it's getting a headwind exactly in the opposite direction. So let's say his true airspeed was 300 knots, and he was getting a headwind of 50 knots. So his ground speed is going to be 250 knots. Okay, so as you can see, your ground speed is going to be lesser than your true airspeed. In the case of a tailwind, the exact opposite will happen. The tailwind will give a slight push to the airplane, making its ground speed more than the true airspeed. So you'll actually be flying faster than what's shown on your speed tape. But one thing that we need to keep in mind is that headwind tailwind is not as simple as this. Sometimes it could look also something like this, which is not exactly a headwind or a crosswind, but it's kind of a mixture of both. It's kind of hitting you on your quadrant. So there could also be something from this direction, which is kind of like a tailwind. But something like this is always going to have some amount of headwind component, just like something from here would have some amount of a tailwind component. In order to calculate the headwind component of something like this, you need a flight computer. Boring people like me have a flight computer known as the CX2, which looks kind of like this, and cool people use something known as CX3. We have to put batteries on. How do you? Oh, you're talking like this.
The girl versus the girl she told you not to worry about.
In order to calculate, I'll show you the steps. You go to flight, then you go to plan leg, and then you go to the first one, which is heading ground speed. You enter the values of your true course, TAS, wind direction and speed, and as you can see in the end, the last line, you can get your ground speed. This is how you can find out the difference between your TAS and ground speed using a CX2. And for all the other cool people, I'm sure you all are smart enough to figure it out. Now let's talk about the second thing. For example, we have an airplane which has 4 engines with all the engines operative, is flying at a TAS of 400 knots. Let's say there is a situation.
Even situation in heaven, yeah. Oh, you are.
One of his engines went kaput. Okay, so now because of that, he was earlier flying at 400. Now he can't maintain the same speed. So now his new TAS is 300 knots. This is known as your reduced TAS, also known as your 3-engine TAS. And the previous one is known as your 4-engine TAS or all-engine operation TAS. So finally, let's talk about critical point or point of equal time. The definition of this is that critical point or point of equal time is a decision point from which it would take the same amount of time to fly to either airfields. I'll show you an example.
346 minutes late.
Yeah, so as you can see, we have an airport A and we have an airport B, which are 4 hours away from each other. Okay, so as you can see, this is our CP or PET, which is the point of equal time. From here, A is also 2 hours and B is also 2 hours. The whole reason why we have CP is in case you have an engine failure, it helps you decide which airport to go and land at. In case you have an engine failure before your CP or PET, you should return back to A. In case your engine fails after your CP or PET, you obviously proceed to B. In case it fails at CP or PET, it's up to you, whatever works for you. Now let's talk about some important rules regarding CP. First of all, CP is totally independent of your fuel endurance. It has nothing to do with your endurance. The second point is that CP in still air or in calm winds will be midway between your two airports. For example, in this example, it's midway because the winds are calm. In case of winds, CP always moves into the wind. What do I mean by that? I'll show you in just a second.
Slowly.
When we consider our airplane flying from A to B, this is what the headwind is going to look like. The CP is going to move into the wind. So from where the wind is coming from, basically. So as you can see in this case, in case of a headwind, CP is going to be into the wind. So it's going to be further away from your midpoint. In case of a tailwind, CP is going to be closer to your departure aerodrome than your destination aerodrome, as you can see, into the wind. The last thing that I will discuss is the effect of increasing TAS. So the effect of increasing TAS is the exact opposite to the effect of winds. CP moves towards still air, the exact opposite of what is happening over here. Okay guys, so the formula to calculate CP is dH upon O plus H, where CP is distance in nautical miles, D stands for distance between the airports in nautical miles, H is your homebound ground speed. Okay, homebound means when you're flying back towards your departure aerodrome, and O stands for your outbound ground speed, which is the ground speed with which you'll fly towards your destination. This will basically give you your distance to CP from your departure aerodrome in nautical miles. As you can see, time to CP is equal to distance to CP divided by speed, which is your ground speed and not your TAS. Okay. Now I want to talk about something very important. Let's say, for example, in the question they have given us full TAS, which is of all your engines operative, and your reduced TAS, which is with your whichever engine inoperative. Previously we spoke about distance to CP, in that we had dH upon O plus H. So the H and the O, those ground speeds, have to be calculated with respect to your reduced TAS. Okay, and when you talk about time to CP, the speed, the outbound ground speed that you're gonna take will be calculated from your full TAS. Okay, this is very important. People make a lot of mistakes. Please don't make this mistake and lose yourself that mark. Just keep that in mind. Let's solve a simple sum. My tiny little airplane is going from A to B. These airports are 200 nautical miles apart. The 4-engine TAS is 400 knots. Okay, and the 3-engine TAS is 300 knots. For our winds, we have a 50 knot headwind. Now let's solve this sum and see how it looks.
Lot of boring math later.
I have calculated the ground speeds. 300 minus 50 because it's a headwind. Ground speed out is equal to 250 knots. Ground speed home is equal to 300 plus 50 because now headwind becomes tailwind on the way back. So you get 350 knots. And ground speed out is equal to 450 minus 400 minus 50, which is equal to 350 knots. So as you can see, we calculated these two using the reduced TAS, and we calculated this using the full TAS. Now I'll solve further and show you all. Okay. So distance to CP is equal to dH upon O plus H. So D 200 into H 350 upon O plus H. And if you calculate this, you get 116 nautical miles. That means CP is somewhere here, a little further from midway, closer to the destination, because as we said, CP moves into the wind and there's a headwind. And time to CP is equal to CP distance upon speed, which is your ground speed out, calculated from your full TAS, which is this one. Okay, so that's 116 nautical miles divided by your speed, which was calculated to be 350. If you do this, this comes up to 20 minutes. That's basically how you solve CP sums in the exam. Now let's talk about point of no return or point of safe return, PNR or PSR. This is defined as the point which is furthest calculated from the departure aerodrome to which an aircraft can fly and return within its safe endurance. The rules of PNR or PSR are that the maximum distance to PNR or PSR can be obtained only in still wind. In case of any wind, PNR moves towards the departure aerodrome. So in case of headwind or tailwind, doesn't matter, it's always going to be closer to the departure aerodrome. Okay, so the formula to calculate distance to PNR is equal to EOH upon O plus H, with E being the endurance of the aircraft. And in order to find time to PNR, it is the same as the previous. You divide the distance to PNR divide by the outbound ground speed calculated from the full TAS. And again, the O and the H is again going to be calculated from your reduced TAS in case they have given full TAS and reduced TAS in the question. In order to calculate the sum, it's pretty much the same thing. The DH is replaced by EOH upon O plus H. So the same rules apply as before. Now let's talk about radius of action. It is the distance to the furthermost point from the departure aerodrome to which an airplane can fly, carry out a given task and return back to its departure aerodrome within its safe endurance. Something like this could be useful when you're trying to plan a search and rescue mission where you have to go out, scan a particular amount of area and then return back to your base. So a fun fact, in the US Air Force they have something known as bingo fuel. So what this means is that this is the minimum amount of fuel which they need to come back to their base in case they go out for a sortie.
Bookie 99, we need a drop.
Negative. I'm bingo.
You're kidding me. I'm staring at a company of tanks. We need a drop.
Sorry, I'm out of fuel, sir. I'm out.
Some useful formulas that could really come and help. Endurance is equal to usable fuel upon fuel consumption, or total fuel on board minus reserves upon fuel consumption. And the second important formula is SAR, that is still air range, okay, is equal to fuel on board into TAS upon fuel consumption. And fuel on board upon fuel consumption is basically how much time you can fly the airplane in total. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope you all learned something and you all enjoyed watching this video. Please like and subscribe and see you guys in the next one.